I never thought I'd be the guy sharing his story online. I always considered myself a private person, the kind who handles his problems behind closed doors. But here I am. I guess sometimes the weight of it all becomes too much to carry alone, and you realize that silence isn't strength, it's just silence. My name is Ben. I'm 40 years old. For 15 years, I was married to a woman named Chloe. We met in college, two kids who thought they had the whole world figured out. She was an art history major with a laugh that could quiet a crowded room. I was studying architecture, hopelessly pragmatic but utterly captivated by her free spirit. We balanced each other out. She taught me to see the beauty in the imperfect, and I suppose I gave her a sense of stability. We built a life. A good one, or so I believed. We had a house in a quiet suburb, the kind with big oak trees and neighbors who knew your name. We had two children, Lily, who's 12 now, and Noah, who's 9. They were the absolute center of my universe. My career was stable, Chloe worked part-time at a local gallery, and our life had a comfortable, predictable rhythm. We had our share of arguments, sure, about money, about whose turn it was to do the school run, about the fact I worked too much, but it never felt catastrophic. It felt normal. It felt like marriage. The first crack appeared about 2 years ago. It was so small, so insignificant that I almost missed it. Chloe started a new yoga class. It was on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. She'd come home flushed and energized, talking about mindfulness and breathing techniques. I was happy for her. She seemed to have found a new passion. Then the class became a yoga group. The group started going for smoothies after class. Then the smoothies turned into dinners. The one night a week became 2, then sometimes 3. The woman who used to love nothing more than a quiet night in with a movie was now constantly out, her calendar filled with social engagements I'd never heard of. I'd joke about it. "What's the name of this cult you've joined? Do they need any new recruits?" She'd laugh it off a little too quickly. "Oh, stop it, Ben. It's just good to have a life outside the house, you know? You should try it." Her phone habits changed drastically. It was like an appendage. She'd never been glued to it before, but now it was always in her hand or face down on the table. If it buzzed and I so much as glanced in its direction, she'd snatch it up with a speed that was almost comical. "Who's that?" I'd ask once, nodding at the phone she was typing furiously on. "No one," she'd say, not looking up. "Just the group chat. We're planning a weekend retreat." A weekend retreat. The words felt heavy, loaded. A whole weekend? "It's for a deep meditation workshop. It's supposed to be incredibly transformative," she said, finally meeting my eyes. Her gaze was challenging, daring me to object. I didn't. I told myself I was being the cliché jealous husband. I didn't want to be that guy. So I swallowed my unease and nodded. "Sounds great, honey. You should go." She went. She came back quieter, more distant than when she had left. She'd sigh a lot, looking around our home like she was seeing it for the first time and finding it lacking. Our conversations became transactional, about the kids' schedules, bills, what to have for dinner. The easy laughter, but a week passed. Then 2. The ring never reappeared. When I gently brought it up again, her response was sharp, defensive. "God, Ben, it's just a ring. It doesn't mean anything. I just keep forgetting to pick it up from the jeweler. Why are you so obsessed with it?" I wasn't obsessed with the ring. I was obsessed with what its absence represented. It was a symbol, a tiny golden symbol of everything that was slipping away. The breaking point came on a random Tuesday evening. The kids were in bed. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch, a vast, silent chasm between us. The only sound was the low murmur of a documentary on TV.
I couldn't take the silence anymore. I muted the TV. "Chloe," I said, my voice sounding too loud in the quiet room, "we need to talk." She sighed, a long, weary sound that seemed to carry the weight of the world. "About what, Ben?" "About this, about us. You're never here. When you are, you're a million miles away. You flinch when I touch you. What's going on? Please, just talk to me." She turned to look at me then, and her expression wasn't guilty or sad. It was resolute, cold. "I'm not happy, Ben," she said, her voice flat. The words were a physical blow. "What? Why? What can we do? Let's fix it. Let's go to counseling. Anything." She shook her head slowly. "I don't think you can fix this. I've been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of work on myself and my group. I think I need to explore new experiences." I stared at her, bewildered. What does that mean, new experiences? "Do you want to take a trip? We can take a trip, just the two of us." A small, almost pitying smile touched her lips. "No, Ben, that's not what I mean." She took a deep breath. "I think I want to see other people." The room tilted. I actually had to put a hand on the arm of the couch to steady myself. I laughed, a short, desperate, hollow sound. "You're joking. Tell me you're joking." "I'm completely serious," she said, her gaze unwavering. "I need to find out who I am outside of this life. People do it all the time. It's called an open marriage. It's very modern." "An open marriage?" I repeated, the words tasting like ash. "Chloe, we're not modern. We're married. We have children. You don't just spring that on someone after 15 years. "You're overreacting," she said, her tone dismissive, as if she'd already anticipated my response and found it tedious. "You're so close-minded. This is exactly why I feel suffocated." That night, I lay in bed beside her, listening to her breathe evenly, as if she hadn't just detonated a bomb in the center of our lives. I felt numb. The woman sleeping next to me was a stranger. The trust I had in her, the foundation of our entire life together, was gone. In its place was a cold, sickening dread. The next morning, something in me had shifted. The grief and shock were still there, but they were now accompanied by a steely resolve. I wasn't going to be gaslit. I wasn't going to let her rewrite the rules of our marriage and convince me I was the unreasonable one. If she was going to do this, I needed to know the full truth. I needed armor. I started digging. I'm a methodical person. It's in my nature. I began with our joint bank account statements, something I'd always happily let her manage. I scrolled through months of transactions, my heart pounding. And there it was. Charges for restaurants I'd never been to, in towns an hour away. A recurring monthly payment for a premium phone plan I didn't have. Hotel charges on weekends she was supposedly on group retreats. One particularly painful line item, a charge from a high-end jewelry store for a silver bracelet. A bracelet I'd never seen her wear. Each transaction was a tiny paper cut, but together they were a hemorrhage. She wasn't just thinking about seeing other people. She was already doing it. And she was funding it. With our money. I needed professional help. I called an old friend from college, Leo, who'd started his own private investigation firm after a stint in the military. I laid it all out for him, my voice shaking with a mixture of humiliation and rage. He listened in grim silence. "Ben, are you sure about this?" he asked when I finished. "Once I start digging, there's no unseeing what we find." "I'm sure," I said, my voice firmer than I felt. "I need to know, Leo. I need to know everything." The next week was an exercise in surreal agony. I played the part of the oblivious husband. I made her coffee in the morning. I asked about her day. All the while, my insides were coiled so tight, I thought I might snap. She continued her routine, leaving,
And a man I'd never seen before. They were leaving a restaurant, laughing. He had his hand on the small of her back. In another, they were walking into a hotel, his arms slung casually over her shoulders. The man was handsome, in a generic, well-groomed way. He looked successful. He looked nothing like me. I felt a white-hot rage flash through me, so intense it was blinding. I took a deep, shuddering breath, forcing it down. I had to keep it together. There were more photos, of them at a winery, of him picking her up from the gallery where she worked. The final photo made the breath catch in my throat. It was a close-up, taken through a window. They were in a kitchen I didn't recognize. He was standing behind her, his arms wrapped around her waist, his chin resting on her shoulder. She was smiling, a relaxed, happy smile I hadn't seen directed at me in years. "His name is Adrian Wright," Leo said, quietly, watching my face. "He's a commercial real estate developer. Divorced. No kids. They've been seeing each other for about 7 months." 7 months. The number echoed in my skull. She'd been lying to me, living a double life for over half a year. "There's more," Leo said, his voice grave. "It's not just an affair, Ben. They're planning." He slid a few printed sheets of paper toward me. They were transcripts of text messages pulled from a backup on our shared cloud account I'd given him access to. I started to read, and with each word, my world shrank and grew colder. "Chloe, I can't keep doing this. I need to tell him." "Adrian, not yet. We need to be smart. We need to get our ducks in a row." "Chloe, what does that mean?" "Adrian, it means we need to make sure you're taken care of. Start setting aside some money, small amounts. He won't notice. Talk to a lawyer, quietly. Find out what you'd be entitled to. We need to be ready before you drop the bomb." I looked up at Leo, my vision blurring. She's stealing from me? They're planning her exit strategy?" Leo nodded grimly. "I'm sorry, man. It looks that way." I drove home that night in a complete daze. The betrayal was so deep, so calculated, that it felt incomprehensible. This wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a conspiracy. When I walked through the door, Chloe was on the couch. "Hey there," she said, not looking up from her phone. "Where were you?" "Just out with Leo. Grabbed a beer." She finally glanced up, and for a split second I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Suspicion? Worry? But it was gone instantly. "Oh, that's nice." I stood there, watching her. I saw the new silver bracelet on her wrist, the one from the bank statement. I saw the way she was smiling slightly at her phone. Was she texting him, planning their next move, their next theft? I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the photos in her face and watch her smug composure shatter, but I didn't. A cold, calm clarity settled over me. Leo was right. I had to be smart. I had to protect myself. I had to protect my kids. The next day, I called a lawyer. Her name was Sarah Jenkins, and she was a shark in a tailored suit. I sat in her sleek, modern office and laid out the entire sordid story. I showed her the bank statements. I showed her the photos. I showed her the text transcripts. She listened, her expression neutral and professional. When she finished, she steepled her fingers. "Ben, this is a lot, but it's good. This is very good for us." "Good?" I asked, bewildered. It felt like anything but good. "From a legal standpoint," she clarified. "We have evidence of adultery. We have evidence of financial misconduct. She's dissipating marital assets. This gives us significant leverage in divorce proceedings, especially regarding custody and the division of property." The word divorce made my stomach lurch. It was one thing to think it, another to have a lawyer say it out loud as a concrete plan.
"The kids," I said, my voice cracking. "I can't let her. She's their mother, but after this?" "Our primary goal is to secure primary custody for you," Sarah said firmly. "Given the evidence of her instability and deceptive behavior, we have a very strong case. But we need to be meticulous. We need to document everything. Do not confront her yet. Let her think she's still in control." So began the most difficult performance of my life. I became a ghost in my own home, quietly gathering evidence while pretending everything was fine. I opened a new bank account and began slowly, carefully moving money to protect it. I kept a log of every anymore. I pulled her into a hug, fighting back tears. We will always be a family, Lily. No matter what, your mom and I are just going through a rough patch, but we both love you and Noah more than anything in the world. I hated Chloe in that moment, more than I ever had before. I hated her for making me lie to my daughter. I hated her for forcing this pain onto our children. The showdown happened on a rainy Sunday afternoon. The kids were at a birthday party. The house was quiet. Chloe was packing an overnight bag for another one of her retreats. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching her. I held the manila envelope in my hand. "Going somewhere?" I asked, my voice calm. She jumped, startled, and turned around. "Jesus, Ben, you scared me." "Yeah, the group is doing an overnight mindfulness session at the state park." "Adrian gonna be there?" The color drained from her face so completely it was almost shocking. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her eyes flicked to the envelope in my hand. I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, but the confidence was gone from her voice. "I think you do," I said. I walked into the room and dumped the contents of the envelope onto the bed. The photos spilled out, the bank statements, the printed text messages. She stared at the evidence of her double life, her hand flying to her mouth. For a long moment, she was silent. Then the shock turned to fury. "You had me followed?" she shrieked, her voice rising to a hysterical pitch. "You spied on me, you unbelievable bastard! This is a violation of my privacy." I actually laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. "Privacy? You're lecturing me about privacy? You've been lying to me for 7 months, Chloe. You've been stealing from our family. You've been planning your new life with your boyfriend while sleeping in my bed." "It's not like that," she yelled, her eyes wild. "You don't understand. You were never there. You were always at work or too tired or distracted. You stopped seeing me. Adrian sees me. He makes me feel alive." "So that justifies it?" I roared, my own control finally snapping. "That justifies betraying me? Betraying our children? You think Lily and Noah won't figure this out? You think they won't be destroyed by this?" "Don't you dare bring the kids into this. This is between you and me," I shot back. "It stopped being just between you and me the second you decided to build a new future on the ruins of our family." "I've seen the text, Chloe. The ducks in a row, the money. Did you really think you could just take everything?"
Her fury seemed to evaporate as quickly as it had appeared, replaced by a cold, calculating glare I didn't recognize. "What are you going to do, Ben? You think you can win this? I'll tell everyone you're abusive. I'll say you drove me to this. I'll make sure you never see the kids again." The threat was so vile, so premeditated, that it stole the air from my lungs. She was already following the playbook she and Adrian had devised. "You can try," I said, my voice dropping to a deadly calm. "But you might want to check with Adrian's ex-wife first." Her face went blank with confusion. "What?" "Yeah," I said. "Turns out Adrian has a history of this. His ex-wife, Melissa, was very happy to talk to me. She had a lot to say about his patterns. She's also kept some very interesting texts he sent her about you. Texts where he calls you a means to an end and talks about how he's helping you secure the bag before he moves on." It was a bluff, mostly. Leo had only just managed to find the ex-wife's name. We hadn't spoken to her yet. But the effect on Chloe was instantaneous. The cold mask shattered, replaced by raw, unvarnished panic. She knew it was possible. She knew the man she was betraying her family for was capable of it. "You're lying," she whispered, but the conviction was gone. "Get out, Chloe," I said, my energy suddenly spent. I felt hollowed out, exhausted down to my bones. "Just get out." She stood there for a moment, trembling, surrounded by the scattered proof of her deception. Then, without another word, she picked up her bag and walked out of the room. I heard the front door slam a moment later. I sank onto the bed, my head in my hands. The storm had finally broken, and the silence it left behind was deafening. The fight was far from over, I knew that. The divorce would be ugly. The custody battle would be a war. But the first battle was won. The truth was out. The weeks that followed were a special kind of hell. Chloe moved in with a friend initially, and the divorce papers were served. True to her word, she fought dirty. She told her family and friends a twisted version of events where I was a cold, neglectful husband who had driven her into the arms of another man. She filed for primary custody, alleging that my obsessive and controlling behavior made me an unfit parent. My lawyer, Sarah, was worth her weight in gold. We responded not with emotion, but with a cold, brutal flood of evidence. We submitted the financial records, the photos, the text messages where she and Adrian plotted. We even managed to satisfaction, but it only made me feel a profound sadness. The man she'd thrown everything away for had vanished the moment things got difficult. She was left utterly alone, exposed and defeated in a courtroom. In the end, the judge granted me primary physical and legal custody of Lily and Noah. Chloe was awarded supervised visitation, twice a month, contingent on her undergoing therapy. The divorce settlement was heavily in my favor, reflecting the financial misconduct Sarah had proven. The first night in the house alone with the kids after the settlement was finalized was terrifying and peaceful all at once. We ordered pizza and ate it on the living room floor, watching a silly movie. Noah fell asleep with his head in my lap. Lily sat close beside me, her shoulder pressed against mine. "Is it going to be just us now, Dad?" she asked quietly during a quiet moment in the film. I put my arm around her and pulled her close. "Yeah, sweetie. It's going to be just us for a while." She was quiet for a moment. "I think I like just us." Those 4 words were the greatest absolution I could have ever received. The war was over. We had survived. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, helping my children navigate their relationship with their mother, rebuilding our lives, learning to trust again. But we were together, and we were finally safe. The scars are still there. They probably always will be. But they don't hurt every day anymore. I look at my children, their resilience, their kindness, their laughter that once again fills the house, and I know that we didn't just survive. We found a way to build something new, something strong and real from the wreckage of everything that was broken. And for the first time in a long time, the future doesn't look like something to be feared. It looks like something we get to build, together, on our own terms.